Security throws a simple black woman off plane, then she makes one call and shocked everyone. The polished marble floors of Jet Haven's exclusive first-class lounge reflected Danielle Brooks' simple sneakers as she walked confidently toward the refreshment bar. Unlike the other passengers with their tailored suits and designer luggage, Danielle wore comfortable jeans, white sneakers slightly scuffed from actual use, and an oversized navy hoodie with the hood down, revealing her natural hair pulled back in a neat bun. "Excuse me, ma'am." A lounge attendant with a practiced smile intercepted her. "This area is reserved for our premium passengers only." His eyes flickered down to her casual attire, the assumption written clearly across his face. Danielle smiled, used to this particular dance. "I understand. I'm flying first class today." She reached into her simple leather crossbody bag and produced her boarding pass. The attendant examined it with thinly veiled skepticism. "Ah, yes. My apologies, Ms. Brooks." His tone suggested anything but. "Enjoy your wait." As Danielle settled into a plush armchair with a glass of sparkling water, she felt the stares like pinpricks across her skin. Two older executives in matching gray suits whispered, their eyes darting to her and away. A woman with immaculately highlighted hair raised an eyebrow at her husband as if to say, "How did she get in here?" Danielle checked her watch. The flight would begin boarding in 20 minutes. Just enough time to review her notes for tomorrow's summit. She pulled out her tablet, its screen filled with acquisition projections and partnership strategies. The airline she was currently sitting in, Jet Haven, appeared prominently in those plans, though nobody here knew that yet. "Is this seat taken?" A woman with a Prada handbag and perfectly manicured nails gestured to the chair opposite Danielle. "Not at all," Danielle replied. The woman sat down, giving Danielle a once-over. "First time flying Jet Haven?" The question carried an unspoken judgment. "No," Danielle answered simply, returning to her tablet. "I'm Felicity Whitmore. I fly their premium routes at least twice monthly." The woman extended her hand expectantly. Danielle shook it briefly. "Danielle Brooks. What brings you to New York?" Felicity pressed. "Shopping trip?" "Business," Danielle replied, her voice even. She wasn't here to educate strangers on their assumptions. "Oh, how interesting," Felicity said in a tone suggesting the opposite. "What sort of business?" Before Danielle could decide how much to share, the boarding announcement cut through the lounge. Jet Haven Airlines Flight 305 to New York is now boarding all first-class and priority passengers. Gathering her belongings, Danielle stood and made her way to the boarding gate. The gate agent's smile froze when she approached, boarding pass extended. "First class?" the agent asked, making no move to take the document. "Yes," Danielle confirmed, patience still intact but wearing thinner. The agent scrutinized the boarding pass, flipping it over as if expecting to find "fake" stamped on the back. "One moment, please." The woman typed something into her computer, brows furrowed. "There seems to be a situation with your reservation. I confirmed this flight yesterday," Danielle said calmly. "What's the problem?" "I'm not sure yet," the agent replied, though her expression suggested she'd already decided what the situation was. "Please step aside while I process the other passengers." Danielle stepped to the side, watching as the line moved swiftly, including Felicity from the lounge, who breezed by with a smug glance. Eventually, when all first-class passengers had boarded, the agent beckoned her forward again. "I'm afraid there's been a seating error," the agent said, her voice dripping with false concern. "We'll need to rebook you in economy." "There's no error," Danielle stated firmly. "I purchased this ticket 3 weeks ago, received confirmation, and checked in online this morning." The gate agent's smile tightened. "Well, it seems we have another passenger already seated in your assigned seat." "Then they're in the wrong seat," Danielle replied, her tone level but firm. "My boarding pass clearly shows 2A. Two security officers approached, apparently summoned by a silent signal from the gate agent. "Is there a problem here?" one asked, directing the question to the agent, not Danielle. "This passenger is insisting on boarding in first class, but there's a seating conflict." The agent explained, her implication clear. "Ma'am, we need you to cooperate," the second officer said to Danielle. "If you can't board in your assigned seat, you'll need to accept the agent's solution or take another flight." "I'd like to speak with the captain or a manager," Danielle requested. "The flight is preparing for departure," the agent said with finality. "If you continue to delay the process, we'll have to escort you from the gate." As if on cue, a call came through from the aircraft. The agent answered, listened, then looked at Danielle with unconcealed irritation. "Apparently the passenger in 2A is claiming there's been a mistake. She says her seat is being incorrectly claimed by someone else." Felicity's face appeared in the jetway door, her expression dramatically distressed. "There's a woman trying to take my seat. I've flown this route for years. I always sit in 2A. Without checking either woman's boarding pass again, the decision was made in an instant. "Security, please escort Ms. Brooks from the boarding area. She can speak with customer service about rebooking options." As Danielle was led away, every eye in the waiting area followed her exit. Her cheeks burned not with embarrassment, but with the slow, simmering heat of justified anger. She'd experienced this before, but never so blatantly, never with such public humiliation. What none of them knew, not the smirking Felicity, not the dismissive gate agent, not the security officers now flanking her, was exactly who they had just removed from that plane. And in exactly 30 minutes, they would all find out. "Ms. Brooks, if you'll follow me to customer service, we can sort this out," said the airline manager, a thin man with a receding hairline and a name tag that read, "Victor Harmon." His tone suggested he'd already decided the outcome of their conversation. The holding area was a stark contrast to the premium lounge, harsh fluorescent lighting, plastic chairs bolted to the floor, and the constant announcements over the PA system. Danielle stood with perfect posture, her expression calm despite the storm brewing inside her. "I understand there's been a misunderstanding," Victor began, his condescension barely concealed. "Unfortunately, the flight is now closed for boarding. The best I can do is rebook you in economy on the next available flight to New York." "That won't work for me," Danielle replied, her voice steady. "I have confirmed seat 2A in first class on this flight, which is scheduled to depart in." She glanced at her watch. 17 minutes. Victor sighed dramatically. "Ms. Brooks, I appreciate your frustration, but the computer shows another passenger is currently seated in 2A. Did anyone verify her boarding pass against mine?" Danielle asked. "Well, no, but Ms. Whitmore is a platinum-level frequent flyer with." "So you removed me from the flight without proper verification because someone else claimed my seat?" Danielle raised an eyebrow. "Is that Jet Haven's standard protocol?" Victor's face flushed. "The gate agent made a judgment call based on..." "Based on what exactly?" Danielle's question hung in the air between them. The silence stretched uncomfortably before Victor cleared his throat. "Listen, I can offer you a complimentary upgrade on the next flight, which leaves in 4 hours. I need to be in New York tonight for an executive summit tomorrow morning," Danielle explained. "A 4-hour delay won't work." "I'm afraid those are your options," Victor said, his patience visibly thinning. "Take the economy seat on the next available flight, wait for the later flight with the upgrade, or request a refund." Danielle nodded slowly, as if considering these meager offerings. "I see." She reached for her phone. "If you'll excuse me for a moment, I need to make a call." Victor waved dismissively. "Take your time. The desk is open until 9. Danielle stepped away, her fingers scrolling through contacts before stopping on one labeled simply, "Executive Office." She pressed the call button and waited. "Brooks Carter Enterprises, Executive Office." A crisp voice answered. "Emily, it's Danielle," she said quietly. "Ms. Brooks, how can I help you?" Danielle turned slightly, lowering her voice further. "Tell Nathan Carter I was denied boarding on his flagship airline, Jet Haven. Flight 305 to New York." There was a pause, followed by a sharp intake of breath. "You were denied boarding? On Jet Haven? The airline we just..." "Yes," Danielle confirmed. That Jet Haven. Give us 30 minutes, Emily promised, her voice now tense with purpose. Where are you now? Terminal B, customer service desk with manager Victor Harmon. Stay right there. Do not accept any rebooking or compensation offers. Danielle ended the call and turned back to find Victor looking at her expectantly. Have you decided on an option? He asked. I'll wait, Danielle replied, taking a seat in one of the uncomfortable plastic chairs. Victor checked his watch. The flight is departing in 12 minutes. There's nothing more I can do about today's flight. I understand, Danielle said. I'll wait here nonetheless. Victor shrugged and returned to his desk, occasionally glancing her way with mild annoyance. Danielle sat perfectly still, scrolling through emails on her phone as if she had all the time in the world. 10 minutes later, her phone buzzed with a text. Stay where you are. Confirmation received by Nathan. Corporate response initiated. ETA 5 minutes. Just as Victor was preparing to assist another customer, his desk phone rang. He answered with his professional customer service voice, which quickly faltered. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understand. Immediately, sir. The color drained from his face as he hung up. His eyes darted to Danielle, seeing her, truly seeing her, for the first time. He hurried over, his earlier condescension replaced with barely disguised panic. Ms. Brooks, there seems to have been a significant misunderstanding, he stammered. I've just received a call from our regional director. Oh? Danielle looked up from her phone, her expression neutral. The flight is being held at the gate. We're reopening the boarding door for you right away, Victor explained, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. The captain has been notified of the situation. Before Danielle could respond, the automatic doors slid open. A tall woman in an impeccable suit strode in, flanked by 2 men in Jet Haven corporate attire. The woman made a beeline for Danielle. Ms. Brooks, I'm Catherine Reynolds, Vice President of Customer Experience for Jet Haven, she said, extending her hand. On behalf of our entire organization, I want to personally apologize for this unacceptable incident. The holding area had gone completely silent. Other waiting passengers watched the scene unfold with undisguised curiosity. We've verified that you indeed have the correct booking for seat 2A, Catherine continued. The other passenger has been reseated. Your flight is being held, and we would be honored if you would still join us today. Danielle stood, her 5'6" frame somehow towering in the moment. Thank you for the offer, Ms. Reynolds, but I no longer wish to fly with Jet Haven today. Catherine's practiced smile faltered. I understand your hesitation, but I assure you, this is not representative of our service. If you prefer, we can arrange private transportation to New York at our expense. That won't be necessary, Danielle replied. I've made alternative arrangements. As if on cue, her phone buzzed again. Brooks Carter jet standing by a private terminal. Car waiting outside main entrance. Ms. Brooks, Catherine pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. Perhaps we could discuss this further in our executive lounge? No, thank you, Danielle said, gathering her belongings. I believe all necessary discussions will take place tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm sure you'll receive the calendar invitation shortly. With that, Danielle walked toward the exit, leaving behind a tableau of shocked faces and frantic whispers. As the automatic doors closed behind her, she allowed herself the smallest of smiles. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. Captain, we have a situation requiring immediate attention. The pilot's intercom crackled with the urgent voice of the tower dispatcher. Flight 305 is ordered to hold position. Do not initiate taxi. Captain Richard Mercer frowned, his hand already on the throttle. Tower, this is Jet Haven 305. We're cleared for departure and running 14 minutes behind schedule. What's the holdup? Captain, direct order from operations. Code Executive Override. Authentication Lima 7 Delta. The first officer glanced at Captain Mercer with raised eyebrows. The code was rarely used, only for serious security concerns or when someone extremely important was involved. Acknowledge, Tower. Holding position. Captain Mercer switched to the cabin intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've been asked to remain at the gate temporarily. We expect this delay to be brief, and will update you as soon as we have more information. A collective groan rose from the economy cabin, but in first class, a peculiar silence had fallen. Felicity Whitmore sat rigidly in seat 2A, scrolling through emails on her phone with increasing agitation. Something wasn't right. When she'd spotted that woman, Danielle Brooks, attempting to claim her regular seat, she'd done what always worked: assert her status and watch the problem disappear. Except now, 15 minutes after departure time, they weren't moving. The cabin door suddenly reopened. The airline's head purser entered, followed by a stone-faced man in a dark suit with an airport security badge. They conferred briefly before approaching first class. "Ms. Whitmore?" The purser's voice was professionally neutral, but her eyes were cold. Felicity looked up, forcing a smile. "Yes? Is there a problem with our departure? I need to see your boarding pass, please." "Of course," Felicity replied, retrieving it from her designer handbag. "Though I don't understand the confusion. I always sit in 2A on this route." The security officer examined the document, then compared it to a tablet he carried. "Ms. Whitmore, your assigned seat for today's flight is 4C, not 2A. "That's impossible," Felicity protested, loud enough for the entire cabin to hear. "There must be some mistake." "The only mistake," the purser said quietly, "was allowing you to wrongfully displace another passenger." She nodded to a flight attendant. "Please collect Ms. Whitmore's belongings and escort her to seat 4C. I demand to speak with the captain." Felicity's voice rose sharply. "The captain is currently communicating with our executive office regarding this incident," the security officer informed her. "I suggest you comply immediately or risk removal from this flight entirely." The first-class cabin had gone deathly quiet. Every passenger was watching the drama unfold, many surreptitiously recording with their phones. "This is outrageous," Felicity hissed as she gathered her things. "Do you have any idea who I am?" "Yes, ma'am, we do." The security officer's voice was ice. "You're the passenger in seat 4C who falsely claimed seat 2A, resulting in a legitimate first-class passenger being removed from this aircraft." As Felicity was led to economy, the purser addressed the remaining first-class passengers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. We're attempting to rectify a serious customer service failure. We'll be departing shortly." Outside the plane, chaos had erupted in the terminal. The gate agent who had denied Danielle boarding was being escorted to a private office, her face ashen. The security officers who had removed Danielle stood at attention as Catherine Reynolds, the VP of Customer Experience, delivered what appeared to be a blistering reprimand. "Completely unacceptable breach of protocol," Catherine was saying, her voice low but intense. "You removed a passenger without verifying documentation. Do you understand the gravity of what's happened? The other passenger was a Platinum member," the senior officer stammered. "We assumed. Your assumption may cost this airline millions." Catherine cut him off. "Ms. Brooks is not just any passenger." Back on the plane, the purser received a message on her company phone. Her eyes widened slightly before she composed herself and approached the captain's cabin. "Sir, Executive Office is requesting we deplane and personally invite Ms. Brooks to reboard." Captain Mercer stared at her. "We're already 20 minutes delayed. Is this passenger still in the terminal?" "No, sir. According to operations, she's declined our offer and left the airport." "Then why are we still holding?" The purser lowered her voice. "Sir, I've just received information that Ms. Brooks is Danielle Brooks, the newly appointed CEO of Brooks Carter Enterprises." The captain's face drained of color. "The conglomerate that just signed the multi-million-dollar partnership with Jet Haven's parent company?" "The very same, sir." In the terminal, word was spreading like wildfire. Passengers waiting for other flights had witnessed Danielle's calm exit, followed by the panicked arrival of airline executives. Smartphone cameras had captured everything. "Did you see that?" a young businessman whispered to his colleague. "That woman they kicked off? I swear that was Danielle Brooks. My brother works at BC Enterprises. The tech mogul? His colleague asked, eyes wide. The one who just closed that massive aviation deal? Nearby, a journalist on her way to cover a fashion show in New York perked up, quickly making notes on her phone. Catherine Reynolds was now on a video call in the private office, her expression grave as she faced the furious visage of Jet Haven CEO. What do you mean she left? He demanded. Find her. Get her back on that plane. Sir, she's already arranged private transportation. Her executive assistant informed me she's using the Brooks Carter corporate jet. Jesus Christ, the CEO muttered, running a hand through his hair. Tell me exactly what happened. According to witnesses, she was removed from the plane based solely on another passenger's claim, without proper verification of either boarding pass. The gate agent made a snap judgment based on appearances, the CEO repeated, his voice hollow. So we profiled and humiliated the CEO of our biggest new partner because she was dressed casually and happened to be black? That appears to be the case, sir. The partnership papers were signed just yesterday, he said, more to himself than to Catherine. They haven't even been publicly announced yet. No wonder no one recognized her. He looked up sharply. Who approved this partnership? You did, sir. Last week. The CEO closed his eyes briefly. Get that plane in the air. Contain this situation. And Catherine? Yes, sir. Prepare the lawyers. I have a feeling we're going to need them. As Flight 305 finally taxied toward the runway, 38 minutes behind schedule, Danielle Brooks settled into the plush leather seat of the Brooks Carter private jet, watching Jet Haven's distinctive tail fin grow smaller on the tarmac below. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nathan Carter. Heard what happened? Their CEO called. Twice. You okay? Danielle typed a simple reply. I'm fine. But tomorrow's meeting just changed focus. As both aircraft lifted into the darkening sky, heading for New York from opposite ends of the runway, the storm was just beginning to gather. The Jet Haven corporate headquarters gleamed in the morning Manhattan sunlight, its glass facade reflecting the clear blue sky. Inside the executive boardroom on the 42nd floor, however, the atmosphere was anything but bright. They've been waiting for 15 minutes, whispered Sarah Jenkins, executive assistant to Jet Haven CEO Gregory Pearson. Ms. Brooks and her team arrived exactly at 9. Should I offer them more coffee? Gregory straightened his tie for the third time. No. Tell them I'll be there in 2 minutes. He turned to the assembled executives. Listen to me carefully. Our entire Asia-Pacific expansion hinges on the Brooks-Carter partnership. If we lose this deal, we lose 3 years of market planning and hundreds of millions in projected revenue. The boardroom door opened, and Catherine Reynolds slipped in, clutching a tablet. Sir, our PR team has detected unusual social media activity. Someone on the flight posted a video of the Whitmore woman being moved from first class, with a caption implying a major scandal involving our airline and a tech industry CEO. Has it gone viral? Asked the chief marketing officer, his face pale. Not yet, but it's gaining traction. Several industry insiders have commented, asking if it involves Danielle Brooks. Gregory closed his eyes briefly. Damn it! Who authorized the removal of a CEO from our aircraft without proper verification? The gate agent claims she followed standard procedure for seating disputes. Catherine replied. But I've reviewed the security footage. It's damning, sir. There was clear bias in how the situation was handled. We don't have time for this now. Gregory snapped. Catherine, you're with me. Everyone else, stay by your phones. This meeting determines whether Jet Haven still has a future in the Brooks-Carter portfolio. The executive conference room fell silent as Gregory and Catherine entered. Seated at the far end of the polished table was Danielle Brooks, still dressed in casual attire. Today, dark jeans and a simple black blazer over a white t-shirt. Beside her sat a stern-looking man in his 60s, Nathan Carter, the founder of Carter Technologies and Danielle's business partner. Flanking them were two attorneys, their expressions unreadable. Ms. Brooks, Mr. Carter, Gregory began, extending his hand. Thank you for meeting with us today. On behalf of Jet Haven Airlines, I want to offer our sincerest apologies for yesterday's unconscionable incident. Danielle didn't take his hand. Instead, she gestured to the chair across from her. Please sit down, Mr. Pearson. Gregory withdrew his hand awkwardly and took a seat. Catherine quietly slipped into the chair beside him. Before we begin, Danielle said calmly, I want to be clear about something. I'm not here because of what happened to me personally. I'm here because what happened to me happens to people who look like me every day on your airline, but most of them don't have the power to sit in this room afterward. Nathan Carter nodded. Our partnership agreement, which was signed but not yet publicly announced, included specific provisions about corporate culture and inclusivity practices. Section 17.3, to be precise. One of the attorneys slid a document across the table. As you can see, the partnership is contingent upon Jet Haven maintaining equitable customer service standards across all demographics. Gregory skimmed the highlighted section, his stomach sinking. Ms. Brooks, we acknowledge the serious lapse and take full responsibility. We'd like to discuss how we can make this right. That's why we're here, Danielle replied. She nodded to the second attorney, who placed the tablet on the table and turned it to face Gregory. This is surveillance footage from yesterday, Danielle explained. I'd like you to watch it carefully. The video played silently. From multiple angles, it showed Danielle's arrival at the lounge, the suspicious glances, the gate agent's skepticism, and finally, her humiliating removal from the aircraft. The contrast between how she was treated and how Felicity Whitmore was accommodated was stark and undeniable. Now, Danielle continued, I had our team analyze customer complaint patterns across your airline for the past 3 years. The tablet displayed a series of graphs. Your premium class complaints involving passengers of color are 340% higher than industry average. Your gate agents are twice as likely to request additional identification from minority passengers in first class than from white passengers. Gregory's face had gone ashen. Ms. Brooks, I had no idea. That's the problem, Nathan Carter interjected. You should have known. This data wasn't hidden, it just wasn't being tracked because nobody at Jet Haven thought it mattered. Danielle leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. Our legal team has drafted a proposal cancellation form. If signed today, Brooks Carter Enterprises will withdraw from the partnership with minimal financial penalties. Ms. Brooks, please, Gregory pleaded. This partnership represents years of planning. Alternatively, Danielle continued as if he hadn't spoken. We can proceed under new terms. She nodded to the first attorney, who slid another document across the table. A complete overhaul of your customer service training, with emphasis on unconscious bias. Independent auditors with monthly reports directly to your board. A diverse passenger advisory council with actual authority. And a transparency commitment that requires Jet Haven to publish demographic data on passenger complaints and resolutions. Gregory glanced at the document, then at Catherine, who gave him a slight nod. Additionally, Danielle said, her voice firm, the gate agent and security personnel involved will be provided with proper training, not fired. Making them scapegoats solves nothing. This is a systemic issue, not an individual one. And if we agree to these terms? Gregory asked. Then the partnership proceeds, with Brooks Carter Enterprises monitoring compliance for the first year. Nathan Carter explained. One more incident like yesterday's, and we walk, with full penalties enforced. Gregory didn't hesitate. We accept these terms. One more thing, Danielle added. No press release about this meeting. No public apology highlighting me personally. If you're going to fix this, fix it because it's right, not because you got caught treating a CEO badly. As they stood to leave, Gregory found his voice again. Ms. Brooks, may I ask why you were flying commercial in the first place? You clearly have access to private aviation. Danielle looked at him steadily. Because I shouldn't have to use a private jet to be treated with dignity, Mr. Pearson. Neither should anyone else. After they departed, Catherine turned to Gregory. Sir, The social media situation is escalating. Someone recognized Ms. Brooks at the airport. Financial analysts are speculating about the Brooks-Carter deal. Gregory loosened his tie, suddenly feeling the weight of what had just transpired. Implement everything they asked for. Immediately. And Catherine? Yes, sir. By mid-afternoon, what had begun as whispers among financial analysts exploded into a full-blown crisis for Jet Haven. The interns leaked information, combined with the cell phone footage from the flight, created a perfect storm on social media. The hashtag #JetHavenDiscrimination trended globally, accompanied by a grainy image of Danielle being escorted from the plane. Breaking: Tech CEO Danielle Brooks removed from Jet Haven first class despite holding valid ticket. Sources say multi-million-dollar partnership now in jeopardy. The tweet from industry watchdog at Aviation Insider had been shared over 50,000 times in just 3 hours. Financial news channels ran split-screen coverage, one side showing Jet Haven's rapidly dropping stock price, the other displaying the viral video with commentary from travel industry experts. What we're witnessing is the collision of old-world airline elitism with new-world corporate accountability, explained a transportation analyst on Global Business Network. Jet Haven built its brand on exclusivity, but that model becomes problematic when exclusive starts to look like exclusionary. In the Jet Haven crisis management room, exhausted executives huddled around screens displaying the unfolding disaster. The company's social media accounts had been bombarded with furious comments. Celebrities and influencers were publicly canceling their Jet Haven memberships. Competing airlines had begun rolling out thinly veiled advertisements promoting first-class treatment for every passenger. "We need to issue a statement," insisted the head of public relations, his tie loosened and shirt wrinkled after hours of emergency meetings. "The silence is killing us." Catherine Reynolds shook her head. Ms. Brooks specifically requested no press releases or public apologies highlighting her personally. "That was before this went viral," argued the PR director. "We're hemorrhaging bookings. Premium reservations are down 60% since this morning." Gregory Pearson entered the room, his face drawn and eyes bloodshot. "I just got off the phone with the board. They're calling for immediate action." He turned to Catherine. "Contact Brooks-Carter. We need their approval for a public response." While Jet Haven scrambled, Danielle sat in her New York hotel suite, calmly reviewing the original purpose of her trip, the executive summit documents. A soft knock at the door interrupted her concentration. "Come in," she called. Emily, her executive assistant, entered with a tablet. "You might want to see this," she said, handing it to Danielle. "The Jet Haven incident has gone viral. It's everywhere." Danielle scrolled through news articles, social media posts, and video clips. Her expression remained neutral, even as she saw herself becoming the unwitting symbolic center of a national conversation about race, class, and corporate accountability. "This wasn't my intention," she said quietly. "I know," Emily replied. "But people are listening now. Jet Haven's PR team has called 3 times asking permission to issue a statement." Danielle set the tablet down. "Tell them they can address the incident and their response, but they are not to mention me by name or title. This isn't about one CEO being mistreated, it's about a pattern affecting countless passengers." As Emily left to relay the message, Danielle's phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. "Just got a call from Felicity Whitmore's law firm. She's threatening to sue for defamation after being identified online." Danielle almost laughed at the irony. The woman who had so casually displaced her was now facing her own public reckoning. Across social media, amateur sleuths had identified Felicity as the passenger who falsely claimed seat 2A. Her social media accounts were flooded with criticism, and a Reddit thread had uncovered previous instances where she had pulled similar tactics on other airlines. By evening, Felicity had deleted all her social media accounts after a particularly damaging video emerged from 6 months earlier, showing her berating a flight attendant on a different airline for seating someone like that next to her in first class. Jet Haven finally issued their carefully worded statement. Jet Haven acknowledges that a serious customer service failure occurred on Flight 305 yesterday. A first-class passenger with a valid boarding pass was wrongfully removed from the aircraft based on unverified claims and unconscious bias from our staff. This incident highlights systemic issues within our corporate culture that we are committed to addressing immediately and transparently. Effective tomorrow, Jet Haven is implementing comprehensive bias training for all customer-facing staff, establishing an independent passenger advocacy council with oversight authority, and publishing monthly demographic data on passenger complaints and resolutions. We recognize that actions speak louder than words, and we are committed to earning back the trust of all our passengers. The statement was met with skepticism online, but financial analysts noted that it struck the right tone of accountability without scapegoating individuals. Jet Haven's stock price, which had plummeted almost 15% during the day, stabilized slightly in after-hours trading. That evening, as Danielle prepared for the summit the next day, a different kind of message began circulating through professional networks and private industry forums. Leaders from minority-owned businesses shared stories of similar experiences on various airlines, creating a powerful mosaic of discrimination that had previously remained in the shadows of corporate travel. What Danielle Brooks did wasn't just stand up for herself, wrote one prominent black tech entrepreneur in a widely shared post. She leveraged her position to demand systemic change rather than personal accommodation. That's the difference between pacification and progress. The next morning, as Danielle arrived at the executive summit, she was met with knowing looks and subtle nods of respect from her peers. The agenda, originally focused on tech industry collaboration, had been modified to include a panel discussion on corporate responsibility and inclusion. When Danielle took her seat at the panel table, the moderator began with an unplanned question. Ms. Brooks, many in this room have followed recent events. Would you care to comment on how corporations should address inclusivity challenges? The room fell silent as Danielle leaned toward her microphone. What happened to me was not unique, she began. What's unique is that I had the leverage to demand accountability rather than just an apology. True inclusion isn't about making exceptions for people with power. It's about changing systems so exceptions aren't necessary. Her words resonated through the ballroom, captured by dozens of attendees who shared them instantly across business networks and social platforms. By lunchtime, #ChangeSystems was trending alongside #JetHavenDiscrimination. Meanwhile, back at Jet Haven headquarters, Gregory Pearson signed the final documents initiating the sweeping changes demanded by Brooks Carter Enterprises. As he handed the paperwork to his legal team, his phone buzzed with a notification. 3 major corporate clients had just renewed their bulk travel contracts with Jet Haven, citing the airline's commitment to reform. They're watching us closely, Gregory told Catherine. Not just Brooks Carter, but everyone. One more misstep and we're finished. Catherine nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. The independent auditors arrive tomorrow. The Passenger Advocacy Council convenes next week. And the first demographic report will be published in 30 days. Good, Gregory replied. And Catherine? Make sure every executive in this company understands, this isn't a PR exercise. This is survival. As day faded into evening, Danielle stood at her hotel window, looking out over the illuminated New York skyline. Her phone displayed a message from an unknown number. Thank you for doing what many of us couldn't. A Jet Haven flight attendant. Danielle smiled slightly. The storm was far from over, but sometimes it took lightning to illuminate the path forward. Find every airline executive who looks like they've never been questioned in first class. Fire them. Then hire people who understand what happened yesterday wasn't an isolated incident. It was just the one we got caught for. In the elevator descending to the lobby, Danielle checked her phone. A message from Emily flashed on the screen. Financial wires reporting unconfirmed turbulence in the Jet Haven BC Enterprises partnership. Jet Haven stock down 4% in pre-market trading. Think they'll actually change? Nathan asked quietly. Danielle slipped her phone back into her pocket. They will if they want to survive. The audit starts tomorrow. She allowed herself a small smile. And somehow, I think I'll be flying private more often." As the elevator doors opened onto the bustling lobby, neither of them noticed the young intern who had overheard everything, fingers already flying across his phone screen with news that would soon rock the entire airline industry. 6 months passed. The crisp autumn air swirled across the private airfield outside Boston as Danielle Brooks climbed the stairs to a gleaming jet. Unlike the corporate aircraft she'd used after the Jet Haven incident, this one bore a distinctive logo on its tail, a stylized B formed by wings stretching into infinity. Below it, in elegant lettering, "Brooks Air. Welcome aboard, Ms. Brooks," said the flight attendant, a woman whose resume included 15 years at a major carrier and a specialization in hospitality management. "The full crew is ready for your inspection." Inside, the aircraft's interior reflected Danielle's vision, luxurious without being ostentatious, technologically advanced without being intimidating. The 6-person crew stood at attention, a diverse group representing various backgrounds, ages, and experiences. "Thank you all for being here," Danielle began, addressing them warmly. "Today isn't just another certification flight. It's the culmination of an idea born from necessity. Each of you was selected not only for your exceptional qualifications but for your commitment to our core principles." She moved through the cabin, taking her time to speak with each crew member individually. This personal touch had become her trademark in the aviation industry over the past few months, surprising many who had expected her to remain a silent force working only through corporate channels. "Our first official passenger flight leaves tomorrow," she reminded them. "Every detail matters, but what matters most is that every person who boards this aircraft feels valued, regardless of what they're wearing, what they look like, or what assumptions others might make about them." After completing her inspection, Danielle settled into a window seat as the pilots prepared for the certification flight. She opened her tablet to review the latest figures. Brooks Air had begun as a small, exclusive charter service catering to executives who valued both luxury and inclusivity. The waitlist for membership had grown exponentially after several high-profile executives switched from traditional carriers. Her phone buzzed with a message from Nathan Carter. "Jet Haven Quarterly Report just published. Their demographic complaint stats shows 74% reduction. Your audit team's work is showing real results." Danielle smiled slightly. Despite the very public fallout, she had kept her word. Brooks Carter Enterprises maintained their partnership with Jet Haven, albeit with strict oversight and the new contractual terms. Gregory Pearson had surprised industry insiders by genuinely embracing the mandated changes, transforming them from damage control into a corporate philosophy. As the Brooks Air jet taxied down the runway, Danielle's thoughts drifted to Felicity Whitmore. After her social media exodus, Felicity had unsuccessfully attempted legal action against both Jet Haven and several media outlets. The evidence against her had been too substantial, the witnesses too numerous. Last Danielle heard, Felicity had moved abroad claiming, "cancel culture," had ruined her life, never acknowledging how her own actions had impacted countless others before her public downfall. The aircraft lifted smoothly into the sky. Danielle watched the Boston skyline recede as her new venture literally took flight. Brooks Air wasn't just a business opportunity, it was a statement. After the Jet Haven incident, she'd been approached by numerous wealthy individuals who had experienced similar discrimination but lacked her platform to address it. "I don't just want another airline for the elite," she had told her initial investors. "I want to create a model that other carriers will be forced to emulate." Brooks Air's business model was indeed revolutionary. While maintaining the exclusivity of a private charter service, it operated with transparent policies and equitable practices. Every employee received comprehensive bias training. Customer service metrics were publicly available, broken down by demographic data. And most significantly, Brooks Air allocated 20% of its flights to partnership programs with nonprofits, providing luxury travel experiences to those who would typically never access such services. "Ms. Brooks," the flight attendant approached. "We've received clearance for our full certification route. Would you like to observe the cockpit procedures?" "Yes, thank you," Danielle replied, following her to the front of the aircraft where the pilots were methodically checking systems. Captain Rodriguez, everything looking good? Danielle asked. Perfect conditions, Ms. Brooks, the captain replied. We'll complete the certification requirements and be back in Boston by evening. As Danielle returned to her seat, her phone rang with a call from Emily. The interview with Aviation Weekly just posted online, Emily reported. They're calling Brooks Air the ethical revolution in luxury travel. And they didn't once mention the Jet Haven incident, just as you requested. Good, Danielle replied. That story served its purpose, but it's time for a new narrative. Indeed, Danielle had consistently refused to discuss the Jet Haven incident in any of her rare media appearances. When pressed, she would simply state that the aviation industry, like many others, had long-standing systemic issues that required addressing. Her focus remained firmly on the future rather than revisiting past grievances. As Brooks Air cruised at altitude, Danielle reviewed the passenger manifest for tomorrow's inaugural commercial flight. Among the names were 3 aviation industry CEOs, several technology executives, and 2 civil rights leaders. The flight would travel from Boston to San Francisco, making Brooks Air the first black woman-owned carrier to operate a transcontinental route in American aviation history. Below, she could see another Jet Haven plane tracking a parallel course. The airline had survived its crisis and emerged stronger, their stock now approaching pre-scandal levels as they demonstrated genuine commitment to the changes Danielle had demanded. In an industry known for cutthroat competition, this unexpected outcome, 2 companies improving because of conflict rather than one destroying the other, had become a business school case study. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, Danielle closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Her mother's words echoed in her memory. When they shut the door in your face, don't just knock louder, build your own house. Brooks Air wasn't just her own house, it was becoming a new standard for an entire industry. The humiliation of that day 6 months ago had transformed into purpose, and purpose into power, not the loud, demanding power that needed to announce itself, but the quiet authority that changed systems from within. When the aircraft touched down again in Boston, reporters waited eagerly beyond the tarmac. Danielle declined their requests for interviews, offering only a brief statement. Brooks Air isn't about who I am. It's about who we all can be when we're truly seen and valued. Behind her, the crew disembarked, proud to be part of something that had already begun to reshape an industry. Tomorrow's inaugural flight would make headlines, not because of scandal or conflict, but because excellence paired with equity was finally taking wing. The sky, it seemed, truly did belong to her now, not because she demanded it, but because she had proven that it could belong to everyone.